The story starts off with our protagonist, Kotoba Sakai, a hardcore NEET with social anxiety and not much presence in other people's lives. He rarely leaves his house, but one day, he heads outside to the convenience store to get some groceries, only to find a robber attacking the store clerk, asking for her money. In usual cases, Kotoba would worry about his own life first, but his personality didn't allow him to leave the poor clerk's life in danger. And upon closer look, he notices the store clerk is Kasumi Kaide, his former classmate back from college, and apparently he also had a one-sided crush on her. He never thought he'd meet her in real life in a place like this. Kotoba hasn't spoken to her directly at all, so he doubts she'll recognize him. But even so, leaving all the reasons aside, Bro just charged in to save his crush and stepped between the robber and the girl. The robber was startled by his sudden intervention, and instead of the girl, he stabbed Kotoba in the stomach. Kotoba suffered immense pain from the stab, while Kasumi was too afraid to process what just happened. But when Kotoba asked her to just run away, her survival instinct got the better of her, and she reflexively ran off straight to the store's exit, not caring about anything else. Kotoba died, with a strange satisfaction that at least, with this meaningless life of his, he saved someone's life and finally brought an end to his life with some meaning. But the very next moment, his soul was summoned by the goddess, only to hear it from her that unfortunately, Bro passed away for no reason because the woman he saved from that robber was supposed to die anytime soon by fate. Kotoba was stunned. He died a meaningless death after all. Even the goddess pities him and decides to give him some reward for his good intentions and actions, to bring a meaningful end to his life of a shut-in, who died protecting someone else. She knows how painful and lonely his life has been, and Kotoba, even though not want to admit it, doesn't have any other words to express his life other than one filled with loneliness, sorrow, and no spark at all. Goddess apologizes for making Bro recall the painful past, then moves on to give him a chance to reincarnate in another world, to live a life he could be satisfied with. Kotoba can't believe what he's hearing, and begs Goddess if he can really reincarnate. He would like to do so without any hesitation. Goddess agrees to reincarnate him, and on top of that, she chooses to grant him one special request. She asks Kotoba if he has anything he wishes for. Kotoba thinks since he died by being stabbed to death, he would like to have some power or strength, to not die so easily even if he has to become the strongest being in the world, so that he could protect ones he wants to, even if it demands being the strongest. The goddess doesn't see a hint of evil in him, so she grants his wish and asks him to prepare to be reborn into another world. Kotoba felt comforting warmth in the goddess magic, similar to being held by Mother, and he felt as though he had transcended humanity itself. But the very next moment, he found his consciousness inside a small plant, and he didn't understand what just happened. He expected he would get the strongest body that can't be killed by anyone, even if stabbed. But he didn't expect the goddess would make him a plant. He was disappointed in this life already, and the next second he got trampled on by a fat human, who's on his way to beat some guy with his friends. They seem to be a bunch of bad guys bullying a poor and kind guy, just because he was a farmer of a low standing in the village, while the fatty seemed to be the son of the village chief who liked ordering around everyone below him. After they left, the poor guy noticed the plant, and Kotoba got worried he would be stepped on again and this would be the end of it. But surprisingly, the guy was worried for the plant if it's okay, even though it doesn't have anything to do with him. The guy thought it would be a problem if someone stepped on the plant again, so he decided to make a fence around the plant, to make it easily visible from now on and people won't step on it carelessly again. After that, the guy simply left with a smile, moving on with his life normally. Kotoba, on the other hand, was deeply moved by the kind man, and he feels extremely sorry for getting him wrong earlier. He wished he could thank him, and just thought of this as a favor he won't forget as long as he lives on. Unaware, some light beam glowed from him and transferred into the body of that kind man, but the guy couldn't sense it and just left for his home. Now, within just a few hours, the heat of sunlight was becoming unbearable for the poor plant Kotoba, since there's no way for him to get any water like this, and if it keeps on, he might wither away from drought. He wished that would come to water him, as he almost bent down from the dried-up stem. Right then, a slime showed up in front of him, and when it saw the poor withering plant, it just sprinkled water over Kotoba, bringing him back to full of life and hydration. Kotoba was indebted to this kind slime, but he was a bit worried to see the slime getting smaller as he watered him. However, the slime still seemed happy for some reason, and Kotoba could see the slime was making some sacrifices to water him without caring of itself first. Thanks to slime, he was saved, and then the slime simply went away like a hero. Kotoba wished for the slime's happiness, and without him knowing, the same bright light rose from him and fell upon that slime. Since that day, the slime started coming to water Kotoba every day, and it kept replenishing its water somewhere every day, coming back with the same huge size and returning with the smaller body after watering him. It turns out that whenever the slime went to take some water for its own nourishment, it would always be reminded of the plant Kotoba, and out of his worry, the slime would always go back to water him every day. Meanwhile, around that time in the nearby village, the priest was holding the adult ceremony for the kids who turned adults this year. In this adult ceremony, they will be granted gifts by the gods and receive their skills. Depending on the skill one receives, they will choose their professions, and the kind boy from before was curious what kind of skill he'll get. Once the priest's prayer was finished, he asked the young ones to form a line before the crystal. The kind boy, Alto, got pushed by the same fatty from before, telling him not to be so much as hopeful to think he will really get a decent skill. He believes he himself will be the one to get the Sword Saint skill, and even at his ridiculous claim, Alto simply replies, "Sure," then moves on to the altar when his name is called. Alto placed his hand over the crystal, excited to see what skill and status he will receive. And soon enough, the crystal started glowing strangely and unleashed a light brighter than any other kid's turn, revealing his stats having the blessing of the world tree, where whatever he will achieve, be it adventurer's experience points or money, it'll double. The priest was shocked by the appearance of a skill he had never heard before, and in any case, he praised Alto and congratulated him. After which, he announced the appearance of such an amazing skill this year, World Tree's blessing, and Alto's parents were extremely happy. Their boy did a great job after all. Meanwhile, the fatty Gerudo was jealous of Alto's skill, and he boasted that he'll receive an even better skill. Priest asked Gerudo to step forward for his ceremony, and the fatty was shocked, only to see he was cursed with a negative 120% stats. He can't wrap his head around receiving such a devastating skill. And even his father, the village chief, was pissed at him for ruining his image in front of everyone. Later on, everyone left the church once the ceremony was done, and a girl, Alto's friend, went over to ask Alto if he was really planning on leaving the village and becoming an adventurer. Alto confirmed that is the case, hearing that she assured him he'll be fine out there for sure. Alto was excited and decided to give his skill a try, only to see a world tree mark appear on the back of his right palm. It confirms Alto's doubt that the small sapling growing in the forest was actually the world tree. He couldn't have hoped for anything better than this, and over the years, Alto grew up and became a renowned adventurer. By the time he decided to retire, 20 years had passed and Alto returned back to his hometown to settle down. Later on, he even had a son, to whom he shared the tale of how he got his divine skill from the blessing of a world tree growing out there in a nearby forest. And he taught his son to always be kind to everyone, especially to the world tree. Alto's son, Jiru, took his father's words to heart, after which Alto mentioned that he needs to go back to the world tree to rebuild the fence since it was a long time ago. He asked Jiru to head out first, and he'll follow in a bit. Jiru listened to his father and made his way to the forest to look for the world tree. Meanwhile, in the last 20 years, Kotoba has also grown a lot, and his height is around 2 meters now, deserving enough to be called a tree instead of a plant like back then. With this size, he is confident he won't be trampled on by anyone, but for some reason, he noticed his growth has slowed down considerably. Right then, Jiru arrived and saw the tree which should be the world tree mentioned by father. However, Kotoba had no clue why this guy was calling him World Tree. Jiru could see the fence around the world tree is falling apart, so he needs to clean it up. Kotoba panicked. Just what is this human doing to his fence? As Jiru completely removed it and cleaned the area around it, Kotoba felt oppressed, since that fence was the sole thing aside from the slime that he had with him for these 20 years. Next thing he saw was Jiru praying to him, thanking him for the divine protection of his father. Now that Kotoba thinks about it, this boy does look similar to the kind boy from 20 years ago who built this fence. Maybe. He is the child of the boy back then. The idea hits his mind. Right then, Jiru was called out by a fatty, most likely the son of that previous fatty who got cursed. This fatty wanted to practice his sword on the tree behind Jiru, but Jiru was in the way. Jiru stepped up, protecting the tree and declaring he won't forgive such a thing and protect the world tree, who will surely become a huge tree in size one day. The fatty found it absurd to think that scrawny tree could be world tree. He grabs Jiru by collar and tells him to get out of the way before he crushes him first. As the fatty raised his sword, Jiru showed quick agility and dodged his sword, then picked up a wooden stick to fight back. He made it clear to the fatty to stop, and he didn't really wish to fight. But the fatty didn't stop, so he fought back and managed to make him drop his weapon. The fatty was shocked by his defeat, but even so, he didn't wish to stop and take revenge for it by punching Jiru. Right then, someone told both of them to stop. It was Alto, the well-respected adventurer in the town, and Alto made it clear to Fatty not to touch the tree. He taught them the lesson to respect nature, otherwise he'll provoke the wrath of nature. The fatty was pissed, so he just left for home while Alto called out Jiru and praised him for using the sword techniques he taught him to defend the world tree. After that, they built Kotoba a new fence, and he was really happy by their good deed. He wished them happiness, but he wondered why they were calling him World Tree. Ever since they left, Kotoba's life returned to peace once again, but he is still worried about his slow growth as a tree. He is extremely bored, since he has nothing to look forward to like this. Then, a huge slime appeared and started watering him, as if it was a command, and Kotoba realized it was the same slime from back then. The slime has also grown a lot in the past, and Kotoba was thankful for everything the slime kept doing for him. Not just that, he also noticed the slime brought its kids as well. And just like their mother, the small slimes also started watering him from the sides. Kotoba was quite impressed by the slime's efforts, and after taking turns for a while, they finished watering him and he won't have to worry about water shortages anymore. Over several years, Kotoba grew 3 meters further. But then he still came to notice a halt in his growth, making him wonder if this place lacks nutrients. Then a wolf came out from the forest bushes, seemingly anxious about something. And when he looked at the Kotoba tree in front of him, Kotoba wondered what it wanted from him. Just then, Kotoba witnessed something he never could have guessed. A wolf leaving excrement, and relieved himself right where Kotoba is. And since he was a tree, Kotoba couldn't do anything about it while the wolf did his deed and left the place, leaving Kotoba with a trauma. However, Kotoba suddenly noticed some significant growth in a very short time, which means that the monster's excrement acted like a fertilizer for him. He thought he should be grateful for that wolf, unknowingly blessing the wolf with a good life. Next day, the wolf returned back to him, and Kotoba noticed the wolf have grown up considerably. The wolf even spoke to Kotoba, apologizing for what he did yesterday and being rude to the tree. It seems the wolf has gained some intelligence out of nowhere, and Kotoba didn't really mind anything. He was rather thankful to him since he was able to grow. But the wolf had a better idea now, and instead brought some animals he hunted down himself in the forest. The wolf was sure these will serve as nourishment to him, and after the wolf and his pack buried the remains of their prey, they simply prayed to the world tree and left. Kotoba could feel it. The monster's corpses worked nicely as nutrient supplement, and wolves came by often to leave more of them. Thanks to them, Kotoba kept growing nicely, and after a while he got a new friend, a spider who took home in the tree. Kotoba has finally grown above 7 meters, and one day some humans came by around him. Kotoba was feeling proud of his large height now, and he thought these humans must be from the same village of Alto, so they should be safe. But when the old man told him to cut down the tree for wood, Kotoba was stunned, not expecting his end to come like this. Spider was concerned for the tree, as the humans slowly made their way to cut down the tree with axes, and Kotoba really didn't want to be cut down here, but his constant begs were not audible to clueless humans. The wolf pack from before arrives, just in time, and charges in to step right before the tree, protecting it from the humans who want to cut down the world tree. Humans were visibly scared by the fierce-looking wolves, and their angry stares scared them off. Kotoba was amazed. Are they really trying to protect him, but the humans don't understand what the hell is going on here, and they just simply cancel on cutting down that tree just because those wolves were scary. Humans apologized for trying to cut the tree, and Kotoba was grateful to the wolves, who came just in time to save him. He wished he could speak to them, but indirectly he was blessing them without knowing about it. Meanwhile, the humans were returning with disappointment, wondering why those wolves blocked their path. They were now looking for another tree, since they needed some wood, and the old man wished they could find a tree as large as the previous one. They were unaware that a demon had its eye on them, which could bring a lot of trouble in the near future. Progressing further, Kotoba was growing up all nice and peacefully, and finally his tree self even bore fruits, although he himself isn't aware of what kind of fruit grows on him. Unfortunately, he can't eat it himself either. When the usual slime arrived to water him, Kotoba looked at the kind slime and was ever thankful to it for watering him. He decided to give the slime with this fruit, so he dropped a fruit from his tree in front of the slime, and the large one started eating it. Kotoba saw the slime seemed really happy after eating it, meaning the fruit must have been really tasty. Then suddenly its whole body started glowing with mana surging out of its body, until eventually the slime evolved into the Slime Queen. The bigger surprise was when the Slime Queen spoke out, thanking the World Tree for granting her the evolution fruit. Kotoba was glad she liked it, and he also learned by this that fruit on him is the evolution fruit. After that, he gifted the same fruit to the wolves to thank them for bringing nutrients. And after eating the delicious fruits, the wolves also glowed brightly and evolved into higher forms, looking more like humanoids. Their evolution was pretty surprising even to the wolves, and they haven't witnessed anything like it before. They came to realize the fruit from the World Tree was behind the evolution, in which case they all prayed to thank the World Tree for the blessing and decided to settle in this forest. But since they can't protect the World Tree with just 4 of them, they decided to go back to their previous home and bring more of them here to live better lives under protection of the World Tree. Before leaving, they thanked the World Tree again and promised to repay this kindness. Kotoba saw the higher wolves as they left on 2 legs, and for some reason, they have started calling him World Tree for some reason. Kotoba figures that he must be special after all, since his height and growth is significantly faster compared to other trees in the area. But still, to be called world tree seemed pretty extravagant to him. After that, some time passed, until one day some humans arrived before him. They all seemed to be concerned about an old man, referring to him as a high priest, who is sick right now by a mysterious disease. Kotoba could tell these guys are from some sort of religious cult. He thought maybe he could help them out, so he dropped an apple from the tree, and one of the humans picked it up, then respectively served the fruit to the high priest, hoping to at least bring some strength to him. The high priest hesitantly ate the fruit, and the very next second made a miraculous recovery and stood on both his legs. Others asked the high priest if he's feeling better now. The high priest told everyone about the mysterious power of the fruit borne by this tree, which can cure anything. It makes him think this tree must be the divine tree mentioned in scriptures, so they all started worshipping the tree religiously. Kotoba thought these guys were being dramatic, and he's just glad he saved that old man's life. As he saw them leaving, Kotoba saw the religious crest behind their back of outfits. A few days later, a forest lizard passed by from there and tried one of the fruits dropped on the ground. Kotoba feels like he might be attracting various beings to him by some strange power at this point, and the very next moment he saw the lizard evolving into a fully fledged lizard man. The lizard man seemed very generous towards the world tree, since he was extremely hungry and starving before this. As thanks, he pulled out something from his mouth and claims it may not be much, but he will leave it as thanks here before the world tree. Kotoba was clueless. Then, the lizard man explained, it's a Dragon Knight gemstone, which is created inside a lizard man's body. It's a special magical mineral, and after giving it to him, the lizard men thanked again to the world tree and left from there, promising to return here someday. However, Kotoba thought even if the lizardman left that gemstone there, it was practically useless to him. And besides, he is more curious about what is this world tree in this world, and where exactly people learn that he's a world tree. He decided to just leave things for now and see how they play out. And at a much later time, a strange man arrived before him. The strange man asked the tree respectfully if he could have this gemstone here, and Kotoba didn't mind it at all. The merchant started crying and narrated his story starting with his name Makuro, a merchant, and he was betrayed by his fellow caravan and was abandoned in this forest. However, now that he received these two precious things here, the world tree fruit and the gemstone, he feels like he got some divine protection over him, and with that, he took the gemstone, feeling grateful within his heart. After that, Makuro went to a human town, where he got the stone. Appraised, and when it was discovered to be the legendary Dragon Knight gemstone, chaos erupted and everyone wanted to buy it. Makuro decided to have her status checked again, and she noticed she received the blessing of the world tree, giving her abundant luck and status. He was extremely delighted upon the realization that the tree was indeed the world tree, just like she expected, and later on, she went back to the world tree, Kotoba, to thank him and also share a piece of good news with him. That Makuro has bought this whole land around this place, and from now on, he will be the one to protect the world tree, as a way to repay the favor from the world tree for granting him divine protection. Kotoba liked the good intentions of Makuro, feeling thankful to her in return, and soon enough, Makuro had his men place a signboard in front of the world tree for any human to not dare cut this tree here. Makuro wished the world tree would keep on watching over him in the future, and ever since that day, the merchant's private army started patrolling the area regularly and took good care of the whole area around him. But the peace didn't last long when some humans suddenly arrived and started digging around the world tree. It was the people from the religious cult of the same high priest who was saved by the divine fruit earlier. Kotoba wanted them to stop, but the high priest wanted to take the world tree back to HQ and cherish the world tree there, keeping it all for themselves. When Makuro and his men arrived, they shouted at the religious cult people and they chased out those cult bastards, declaring this land as private property of Makuro Merchant Company. After they chased them out, Kotoba was thankful for Makuro protecting him, and with that, he could live in peace for a while. Eventually, it was around winter time, and Kotoba has grown even bigger compared to last time. However, never in his life he thought that cold actually bothers the trees, and he's finding that out in a harsh way. Moreover, he was also troubled by the bugs taking house in his tree body. If it was a cute bug, he wouldn't have minded it. But these creepy insects feel gross moving around his body, but he can't do anything about it. He wished he could do something. Then the spider came out from above the tree and solved his problem by hunting down all the bugs on his body. Kotoba came to know it's a cave spider, and this cave spider has been a really good ally to him since day one. Usually, they live in caves, according to what Kotoba heard from other humans, so he was curious why this one is out here of all places. But that aside, he can't thank this cave spider enough, because this spider takes care of the bugs for him. He gifted the spider with a fruit, and after the spider ate it, it evolved into a forest spider and started spreading its spider web around the whole tree like a cloth. Kotoba was genuinely even more thankful to this spider, and he wished the spider would keep on living with him forever. As the winter progressed, harsh snowstorms passed through, and one day, an unexpected bunch of monsters appeared from the forest. It was a group of goblins, including around dozens of them, and surprisingly, they had one goblin amongst them who could talk. And when the leader of goblins looked at the tree, he felt like this tree had a divine aura to it and could sense a mysterious power from it. Thus, he decided to build a new village here right away, and Kotoba wasn't sure if that would be a good or a bad thing. Over time, the goblins started working on collecting wood from the nearby trees to make their houses from it. By the way they were working around him, he figured they wouldn't be cutting him down after all, and would actually be keeping him in the center of their village. As long as he won't be cut, he's fine with it. And since they all seem to be working so hard on it, he decided to lend a hand as well by dropping one of his branches for the goblins. The goblin leader was amazed by the world tree dropping a branch for them, which means he was welcoming them in its own way. Anyway, this was good news, and they collected the wolf branch and saved it to use in the most useful way. They made every house in the village with normal wood, and as for the leader's house, it was made by the tree from the world tree. Kotoba could see the quality of wood of his own branch was significantly better than other trees, and that's why goblins made the village leader's house from it, to use it in the most precious way they thought. Once the settlement was made, they all raised their voices in joy and looked up to Kotoba, which was very heartwarming for our protagonist. They celebrated the joyful occasion of their new home, and after the celebration, the goblins dropped some of their liquor near the foundation of the world tree. Kotoba could drink the liquor through his roots and was delighted by the taste of delicious liquor. The village development progressed smoothly, and since they had troubles with food in initial times, Kotoba would drop fruits for them from time to time, and the goblins would love the fruit by the world tree and munch on them happily. By eating the fruits, though, everyone in the village eventually evolved into greater goblins, and even the low-ranked goblins could speak now. And with their evolution, they have taken more human-like forms, unlike their past self, which was shorter with poor builds. And as for female goblins, all of them had good figures and were cute enough to be considered ordinary just like humans. The male goblins with robust build worked on all heavyweight tasks, making him think they resemble orcs more than goblins at this point. Around every night, goblins would always dance around and eat together like a festival, and Kotoba would look forward to it. Not just that, but the spiders also lived on his tree, and they got along with the goblins just fine, benefiting each other mutually without fighting. The spider would enjoy the tree without feeling uncomfortable at all, and one day, the goblins were surprised when they came to meet the spider like usual, only to find out she had transformed into a more evolved form and became Arachne. Now, she could also speak as well, and have ordinary communication with the goblins who could already speak by this point. They talked something out with each other, and Kotoba found it fun witnessing their conversation. Later on, it was concrete now for Arachne and her little spiders to live above the tree, while the goblins would live below. Goblins would trade their liquor with Arachne in exchange for clothes she weaved, and she also made futons for them. And goblins also made them tree houses, which kept their situation win-win for both sides, while the village kept developing further each day. Since Kotoba had some free time, he decided to name the goblins, and for leader goblin, he just named him Linda. The strongest goblin was named Gonza, the cutest one named Anri, who was interested in weaving with Arachne. The goblin with the biggest chest was named Kurin. The shortest goblin was named Gobchin. Peaceful days passed by like that, and before Kotoba knew it, there were many lives around this little village with him as center. However, the goblins still couldn't come up with a solution for the food situation, and Gonza stated the cause for it was because the monsters around here were all strong, which makes it hard for them to hunt them. They can't think of what they should do now, because at this rate the food situation will only keep worsening over time. Kotoba figures he might be the cause of this, since for the last few years he had been giving fruits to monsters around here, which evolved them for their own good, even having humanoid forms and evolved abilities, making them hard to hunt. Unknowingly, he ended up messing up with the ecosystem of this forest, and even if he wants to do something for them, he can't move from here. He tried to see if he could move, and ultimately his roots moved slightly, which gave him some idea. Kotoba controlled one of the roots to grow towards the surface, and once it was out, he wished if only this root could turn into some other vegetable. He thought of a daikon, and the root really transformed into one unexpectedly, opening his eyes to more of his powers. He decided to try making strawberries by same method, and it worked. It was seriously amazing, and he could help out the goblin villagers by manipulating his roots underground and making various vegetables for them. After several days passed, the vegetables he grew were discovered by the villagers. They thought if these vegetables are the blessing of the world tree, and after some observation, They took some bites of the vegetables and confirmed they were not just edible but also extremely delicious at that. They quickly spread the word of tasty vegetables to others, and the goblins started cooking the vegetables for food since that day, solving their food problems. Everyone welcomed the delicious veggies provided by the world tree itself, and Kotoba was glad he could help the goblins back for everything they did for him. With the food problems solved, goblins started improving their agriculture to farm more vegetables. In a very short time, they developed quite a bit. Whenever they celebrated, they would now also leave some soup made by the vegetables for the world tree. Right then, one of the goblins came in a hurry to report to the chief that one of them, Anri, hadn't returned yet, and it seems the neighboring goblin settlement had captured her. Gonza was extremely pissed off, and the village chief was worried for her safety. Linda wanted to solve this matter peacefully, so he calmed down Gonza first before heading out to check things out. Kotoba, the world tree, thought Anri was surely cute, so he can understand why other goblins kidnapped her. Right then, Arachne went to village chief Linda, expressing that she would also like to come with him to get Anri back. Linda asked everyone to gather and prepare to head to another village, with both options in mind, to try and resolve this peacefully or resort to violence if needed. Kotoba was worried if they would be all right, or would have to fight out. The night came and passed, while everyone was out, and next day, the village chief returned with Anri completely safe. Kotoba noticed they seemed to have taken some tough measures after all, since Arachne was dragging along some captured goblins by thread. They begged for forgiveness, claiming that the monsters out in the forest have become too strong for them to handle, so they just kidnapped her to demand for food. But Gonza couldn't look past what they did, while Linda agrees with the goblins and their food trouble. Anri states these goblins and their village are having a really hard time out there, so she requests the village chief if they can help them somehow. Linda figures if they won't commit a crime again, they can help them out by taking them in their village, since they needed more hands anyway in the fields. Later in the night, everyone celebrated Anri's return home with another festival, and Linda and others were genuinely glad in the celebration. Kotoba noticed these goblins just hold a festival for every little thing, and they must have held this celebration to cheer up Anri. After this festival, Gonza was called out by Anri, and she confessed her love to him. And man, our loner Kotoba just wished he could move away from here. But well, that's how things are, and it was a little bit fun to see goblins make love, so it's fine in the end. Later on, slimes were back, and as usual, they came here to water the world tree. Goblins welcome slimes with proper respect, and it seems they understand slimes are doing this for world tree's sake. Goblins thanked Slime for the great work, and Kotoba was glad these guys were on each other's good side, since he won't be able to sort their dispute even if he wants to. But something strange happened irrelevant to these things. When a goblin child was sitting by world tree's side, and if he recalls correctly, he named her Miyako. He wondered if she needed something, but unexpectedly, Miyako responded she didn't need anything. It caught Kotoba off guard, as the kid just replied as if she could understand him. He confirmed his suspicion and tried asking her if she could hear him. Miyako responded again with an affirmation, and she added that she could not only hear him, but also see his human shape and soul within. Now that Kotoba was sure this child could hear him, he wondered why only she could, not other goblins. Miyako doesn't know the answer to that, but probably magic wavelength might have something to do with it. Kotoba didn't think even magic power would have wavelengths, although ever since goblins settled here, he could feel his growth accelerating, probably because he had been absorbing a tiny amount of magic power from them. Miyako thinks that could be the reason why, and Kotoba thinks if she can hear him, he would be able to converse with everyone. She asks if the world tree really wants to talk with everyone. Kotoba replies, surely he would love to, since he's bored and had no one to talk to all these years. He could only spend his time watching others, so Miyako asked if she should interpret his words to others. Thus, he appointed Miyako as the shrine maiden of the world tree. When the village chief heard about this from Miyako, he asked if she means it and is not lying. Miyako shouted she really can hear the world tree, in which case he wanted to test it by asking the world tree, if she is speaking the truth, then drop a fruit. Kotoba dropped a fruit for real and it fell on Linda's head, confirming his doubt that she could really converse with the world tree after all. In that case, he should tell everyone about this and asks the world tree if that's okay with him. Miyako interprets it as okay by him, after which Linda went to make the preparations and gathered everyone in a meeting. Miyako sat down on a stage, and Linda announced they'll start the exchange meeting with the world tree. Linda asks world tree if he has any questions for them. Kotoba talks to Miyako, and after hearing him, she turns to ask Linda what happened to Gonza and Anri, but he didn't know who the world tree was referring to. So first he had Miyako explain to everyone that the world trees had given them names. Linda was honored to hear that and asked what his name was. Through Miyako, Kotoba shared everyone's names, and starting with Linda, everyone else was also pleased upon hearing their names. and they could see how convenient it was to have names like that. Now, he asked, through Miyako what happened between Gonza and Anri. They felt nervous, and Miyako just shared World Tree's message for them to live happily ever after. And thus, with this new discovery and changes, everyone was at peace. Next day, one of the goblins brought an orc with him to the village, and when the village chief saw him, he welcomed Benjamin back home and asked about what happened to his arm when there was a bandage. Benjamin mentioned he just scratched it when the prey was struggling, and moreover he brought an orc with him, as it seemed to be lost in the forest alone. The orc could speak, and claims he, Ode, was lost, got saved by Benjamin, now wants to work here. Linda welcomed the orc gladly, since orcs were known to have high strength and were hard to find. He took the orc in and guided him to the World Tree to introduce him, and after he explained the situation to Kotoba, the orc Ode was welcomed by other goblins as well. Miyako mentioned finding an orc was rare, since they aren't as common as goblins, but unfortunately they are stupid and can't manage their tribes because of that. They could serve well in roles as bodyguards, but no matter what, they can't win against higher species due to their low intelligence. So, they can coexist together with goblins, and that's why this orc here, Ode, would like to work with goblins from now on. Linda wanted to give a name to the orc, Orugu, and he asked World Tree if it sounds good. He responded that's good, and with this they came to bring in a new friend in the village. Miyako offered a fruit by the World Tree, as a token of their welcome, and after accepting the fruit and taking a bite, the orc evolved right there into an higher orc, and he even started speaking like a gentleman after becoming High Orc, and thanked everyone for their kindness and looked forward to work with them. After some days, Kotoba noticed something in the distance and wondered what it was. And upon closer look, he recognized it was the pack of werewolves, the same one who served him with nutrients. It's been a while since he saw them, but now that they are here, the wolf leader couldn't understand why there is a village already out here around the World Tree, and everyone here living where he wanted to live pissed him off. He shouted at top of his lungs, questioning what the hell they think they are doing, and goblins noticed the wolves at once. As the wolf leader kept screaming at top of his lungs, they got some nerve taking his home away. Kotoba didn't expect wolves to be so quick to fight, and the village chief Linda also grew alert as he saw the aggressive wolves charging at his village. Gonza and others also stood on guard with spears and asked the wolves who the hell are they, as this was their village, and the wolves should leave immediately. Kotoba didn't want a fight to happen and wanted to stop them somehow. He started shaking violently, which made them think that World Tree is angry and wants those wolves out. Kotoba realized this was a hopeless approach, and he quickly found Miyako and told her to stop the fight. So, she quickly went over to the village chief and shared World Tree's words with the chief. Linda stopped Gonza and shared the words of World Tree to stop the fight. But even though they stopped and lowered their weapons at his words, the werewolves were different and hard to converse with. The wolf leader asked them, just what the hell are they saying by claiming to hear World Tree, asking them if they are just spouting nonsense because they are scared. In werewolf eyes, he thinks those goblins are just parasites feeding off the World Tree. Right then, a child from the wolves' side stated that the child over there on the goblin's side is right, and the World Tree doesn't want them to fight. It seems the World Tree can be heard by that girl over there as well. And the wolf girl explained that the girl over there is the shrine maiden of the World Tree and can hear him. The wolf leader asked the child if she can also understand what the World Tree is saying, being confused at first, then eventually understanding the situation. Kotoba was glad werewolves had someone on their side who could hear him out as well, making him wonder if there could be more people who could hear them. For now, the wolves and goblins met each other peacefully, and Kotoba had the girls interpret the message that fighting was bad. He asked them to speak his words at the same time, and conveyed that the World Tree belongs to no one, so everyone should cooperate and get along with each other. When they spoke the same thing at the same time, the wolf leader believed in them fully, which cleared the misunderstanding between them, and he apologized to the goblins' chief for his behavior. He thought goblins were trying to use the World Tree for their evil purposes. Linda replied, that's not the case at all, and he is also sorry for being rude to wolves before. He welcomed the werewolves to the village, after which they made amends with each other, and the chiefs had a meeting at Linda's house. After discussing things with each other, the werewolf chief made up his mind to live peacefully with the goblins in this very same village and protect the World Tree with everyone. Everyone liked this outcome, especially Kotoba, and later that night, he saw the goblins holding a welcome party for the wolves. He was glad they made peace, even though it started off on a bad note, and now the village structure looked something like this, after the werewolves joined them. He named the werewolves leader as Wolfram, and the werewolf children as Mimiko. Later on, the goblin chief offered vegetables to the wolves, but they were all carnivores and couldn't eat vegetables. On the other hand, they were quite skilled in combat, and even in this forest, they could hunt quite well and obtain the prey easily. The werewolves regularly went out hunting in the forest, and thanks to them, even the goblins got to receive meat. With the unparalleled combat skills of werewolves and the architectural skills and other stuff goblins could offer, it was a win-win situation for both parties. And moreover, Arachne provided them with futons and clothes. The werewolves had thick fur, but still they appreciated warm clothings. And just like this, the village kept prospering for a while as a multi-species village. And soon, the slimes arrived as well to water the world tree. And this time, it seems the slime queen has evolved further and taken a humanoid form. She claims it's been a while since she came here, but the village has already changed significantly. The villagers asked her if she needed something. She introduced herself as the slime girl who had been giving water to the world tree. She asked the wolves if they live here as well, and the village chief recognized the slime queen from before. After confirming she was indeed an ally, they let her in the village, saying sorry for not knowing she was a benefactor to the world tree. Kotoba still recalls that slime was the first one to give him water, and it seems she has evolved into a human slime this time. He remembers the name he had thought for her, Catherine, and the village chief Linda welcomed her and asked her if she needed anything. Catherine simply wanted to live here as well, and Linda was fine with it. Catherine claims she could provide them with various things like cleaning up filth or decomposing toxins. So, with Catherine leading the slimes, they all received a warm welcome in the village. Kotoba actually liked her staying, since he owed her a lot. Soon enough, the goblin chief had a house prepared for Catherine and other slimes. Wolves would ask her to join them on fishing. And just like that, she and other slimes fit in the village without any troubles and got along well with everyone. Kotoba's village was only growing more and more with new residents coming once in a while, making the village livelier. Meanwhile, the villagers were unaware they were being observed by some humans, and they seemed pretty okay with all the monsters living there, and they think they should report everything's fine to the Lord Mukuro. However, just then a shady bunch of men attacked, and the guard got wounded by the dagger, then asked those people who they were. Guards know whatever the case, these guys must be up to no good, and a fight erupted between them, and the girl opened up a path for them with fire magic and lost the trail with smokescreen. Their priority right now was to report the danger to Lord Makaro, while those shady guys seemed to belong to the very same cult from before, here to steal the world tree. They wanted to quickly take the world tree for them before someone else does, even if it requires them to fight whoever comes in their way. The high priest also wanted to showcase their strength to that merchant Makaro, who intervened in their plans before, and this time he vowed to let anyone get near to that world tree. He ordered his disciples to launch an ambush to conquer the world tree, after which they made their way towards the tree, and soon enough came across something unexpected when they saw a monster's village out there. Linda questioned these men about what they want from here, warning them if they come any closer, they'll suffer consequences. The high priest declared war on the monsters, saying such filth must not be allowed near the world tree. As they charged towards the monsters, Gonza asked the chief what they should do, since the world tree did not belong to anyone. But since those humans seemed up to no good, Linda ordered all guards to stop those humans from advancing any further. The orc advanced to fight the incoming humans, and the cult guys were caught off guard by a high orc present here. It wasn't the only surprise, as the very next moment they were attacked by the werewolves and Arachne as well, and together their forces proved to be far stronger. The high priest realized they were overwhelmed by the monsters, so he ordered retreat, and the monsters came out victorious in this fight. Miyako told everyone they did great and passed on a message to Kotoba that he had something to say to everyone. First off, he thanked everyone for protecting him from those weird people, and Linda claimed it's nothing at all, it's natural, they will protect the world tree. And it's also thanks to the world tree telling Miyako that they managed to prepare for the battle. Kotoba earlier heard the sounds of fighting when Makaro's guards clashed with those cult guys, and thanks to that, he got alerted before the danger arrived. But it seems they have attracted the attention of the wrong people, as those cult bastards would keep coming and creating trouble for them like this. He wishes they would just give up and leave them alone. The morning after repelling the cult guys, Makaro and her people arrived. Kotoba let everyone know beforehand that he's not an enemy, so they don't have to be cautious around him. Linda and others didn't act hostile towards him and asked simply what he wanted. Makaro raised hands to let them know he meant no harm, and Linda, the village chief, wanted to hear the reason for his coming. Makaro stated it makes him happy that everyone here is guarding the world tree, and he is also one of those saved by the world tree in the past and is on their side. Thus, like them, he is also one of the protectors of the world tree, and they could also see the signboard set up by him. Moreover, this whole land here falls under his jurisdiction, and he has also posted guards around this land to protect it from people like those cult guys who attacked yesterday. Linda got the gist of everything and asked if she was a keeping eye on them as well. Makaro replied he was indeed aware of this village beforehand. Since they all seemed to be protecting the world tree, he simply chose to not interfere with them. Makaro didn't make an appearance before, because he didn't want to scare them off, since he is a human and they are monsters, but yesterday one of his guys on lookout was attacked and got injured. It seems those cult guys would only keep troubling them and probably return with greater strength next time. Thus, Makuro wanted to cooperate with everyone else here to make sure to have better defenses next time and work together in saving the world tree. Linda didn't see anything bad in Makuro's proposal, but he wanted to know if there's anything else in it that would benefit them. He expressed honestly that he didn't want to be deceived by humans, in which case Makuro took out a pouch and asked Linda to smell the scent. Linda could smell something peculiar, and Makuro told him it's pepper, a spice that's sold in human markets. And since they are traded in human places, monsters don't have a way to enter the towns and don't have any money either, and can't access the markets in any way. So Makuro asked Linda if he would like to strike a deal with him, since he, as a merchant, can make trades happen between this village and the market, and he is sure it'll help in developing the village further. Linda thinks it's an interesting proposal but wants to know what's in it for Makuro to look for so much, since monsters don't have much to trade. Makuro defined there are indeed many things they can trade, as werewolves have high hunting abilities, and they could sell things like fur and other materials from the hunted prey. Other than that, goblins can farm vegetables and trade them. Slimes can sell water purified by them, which is quite precious in human markets, and it's quite hard for them to procure it as well. Arachne can sell clothes and fabric made by her, which are known for being high quality, and from all these examples, Makuro is sure the monsters have understood how valuable this village is. Linda agreed to deal with Makuro, and they shook hands to finalize their trustworthy relationship. He wanted to continue talking further at his place, so he guided Makuro and others there. Later on, Makuro also paid a visit to the World Tree, and she saw Miyako and asked curiously who she was. Linda explained that this girl is a shrine maiden who can communicate with the World Tree, and Miyako mentioned that the World Tree wants to talk to Makuro. Makuro was excited to hear that and wanted to hear what World Tree had to say. Firstly, Makuro thanked World Tree for helping him back then, and it's thanks to him that Makuro was able to become a great merchant and wanted to repay the favor back someday. Kotoba replies it's him who should be thanking Makuro, and he has already been repaid more than enough when Makuro put up a signboard protecting him from cult guys. He was thankful for all of that. And as for the guy who got injured while protecting him, Kotoba wanted to give a fruit to the guy. After eating it, the guard healed instantly and thanked the World Tree for his kindness. Other than that, Kotoba wanted to ask Makuro if he predicted this outcome, which is why he never interfered with the village, in hopes of becoming a good trading partner with villagers one day, and also make it easier to protect world trees as well. Makuro replied he didn't really think that far into the future. And after conversing a bit, Makuro said bye to the villagers and took his leave, looking forward to trade with the villagers in future. And for lookout purposes, some of Makuro's guards stayed back in the village, and a house was built for them accordingly, leading them to move here permanently. After the deal with Makuro began, the village became a much more convenient place, as they first obtained spices and seasonings, and they could eat a whole lot more dishes now. The villagers' work efficiency also increased when they got better equipment from the markets, which were far more durable and stronger than the ones made by goblins in the past. Moreover, goblins took a liking to the human alcohol as well. They started getting more of it from Makuro since it was really delicious. And over time, more and more beverages made by humans were brought in, and the villagers were living even livelier than before. Just like that, several years passed peacefully, and Kotoba also grew into a gigantic tree for real. At this point, Kotoba himself could feel that he was somewhat special and got a divine appearance, and he might very well be the largest tree in the world right now. The village has also developed quite a bit, and it wouldn't be wrong to say it's a small town now. The forest around the town also developed along with it, and Kotoba started feeling like he was emitting some kind of energy all the time. Earlier, he was worried his abnormal growth would destroy the surrounding forest, but the villagers kept good care of everything, and the whole area was now a vast expansive forest. Other than that, several changes occurred inside the village as well. Like for starters, Linda and Miyako got married to each other and also had a child named York. Since it was the wedding of the village chief, everyone celebrated it as grandly as possible, and some goblins even danced naked out of joy. And as usual, Linda was still respected by everyone, although a few envied him for getting a young bride. Meanwhile, Gonza and Anri also gave birth to their children, who were twins, a boy and a girl, named Riku and Sora. And as expected of Gonza's children, they were incredibly athletic. They also inherited good looks from their mother. And other than them, we see that Benjamin's partner was more surprising, since he married one of the werewolves. She was the shrine maiden from werewolves' side, Mimiko, and she had a wonderful life with Benjamin. They even had a boy named Emerald, who was a half-breed of those two. The leader of wolves married a beautiful wolf woman, and their child was named Jonas, who will later become the next leader of the pack. The spider swarm grew as well, and the small, Spiders around Arachne evolved into jungle tarantulas, small but extremely agile. They worked as a perfect patrol team around the forest, while the orcs have also increased in number within the town ever since Orugu came to the village. They built their homes in villages as well and had children. Now there are about 15 orcs in the village, all serving as tanks guarding the world tree. It wasn't just the villagers whose lives changed significantly over past years, but our protagonist, Kotoba's life also had a drastic change when one day he glowed extremely brightly, releasing a blinding light, and was discovered by new guests, the Elves, who finally found the world tree which just released the light of rebirth. Elves started casting magic spells out of nowhere, and the aim for their magic spells was the monster's town, and all of them could sense danger. Linda and others shouted at the Elves to stop casting spells, but the Elves wanted to drive out everyone living around the world tree, and have combined their magic spells together to destroy the whole town. But when they heard world tree, our protagonist Kotoba telling them to calm down, the Elves dispelled the magic attacks and the whole area calmed down as if that catastrophe was a lie. The leader of the Elves introduced herself to the world tree as Era, and it seems the Elves could hear Kotoba's voice as well. All the Elves were delighted to hear the world tree's voice, and since they could hear and understand him, Kotoba figures it'll help in handling the situation faster. He told the Elves that fights are prohibited around him, hearing which the Elves were shocked, and they asked how else would they drive out those monsters from here. Arachne closed her mouth shut with a web, and Kotoba continued that everyone who lives here is his friend, so they should get along with them. Since the world tree said so, all the Elves listened to him and apologized to the goblins for their rude behavior and calling them ugly monsters before. That aside, Miyako asked Elves what business they have here, and also shared their story first before reaching any conclusions. Elves were surprised, and they asked them if they were not aware about the passing of the previous world tree. Kotoba didn't know even the world trees die in this world, and the elf leader confirmed that the previous world tree, Lord Ushel, passed away recently. Therefore, elves came here seeking the new world tree, and when they finally found it, they were angry to see a town already built around the world tree. After hearing the whole story, Kotoba asked the elves, what exactly is the world tree? Does it exist in multiple places in this world? Era explained, there's only one world tree in the world, and the largest tree in the world becomes the next world tree. And since Kotoba has become the world's largest tree, he has replaced the previous world tree. Kotoba feels like it's his fault that the previous world tree died then. But he is confused by one thing. Why did monsters and some people called him world tree even before he grew this large? She figures they must have been aware somehow that he will become the next world tree. It could have been a hunch, much like foresight, and Kotoba wonders if that's how it is or was supposed to be. But either way, he feels guilty about it. Then Era mentioned the world tree isn't entirely to blame, since that is just the principle of this world that if a new world tree appears, the previous one will either go away. And that's also why the elves are here now and wish to stay with the world tree. Kotoba had no problem with that, but he asked goblins if they were okay with it. Miyako replied they were also fine with it, since they can't drive away the elves, who have always been known as followers of the world tree. In that case, Kotoba told them to take care of each other, and thus elves joined the village as well, becoming their new allies, and they also knew a lot about the world tree that even Kotoba doesn't know about yet. Firstly, she proceeded to introduce all the elves one by one, but since all the elves had a similar name, it was hard to remember for him. Moreover, their faces didn't look much different than others, so he can't tell them apart by looks either. The elves were wise and skilled in magic, so Kotoba's worries about them having trouble getting along with others were solved pretty easily when they began helping out others with magic. They were also pretty amazed by the uses of magic, as they can not only preserve fresh meat with ice magic, but also handle drying the laundry with wind magic. However, the number of houses in the village lacked housing enough for elves, so for a while, Linda asked them if they could stay in the gathering hall for some time. Era asked if they lack houses. Why not just build another one? But Linda can't have it done so quickly, since making a house would require some time, like several days. But Era actually meant why don't they have the world tree build a house for them, since it would be a simple matter with his powers. She requested the world tree to help them out with housing, but even if she said that, Kotoba wasn't sure what he should do. He wonders if she wants him to shed a branch or something, which made Era realize that World Tree is still unaware of his abilities. She mentioned building a house with his powers is a simple task, and even the previous World Tree could make various things instantly. Kotoba didn't know how he could do that, and when he asked her for some tips, she added that the previous World Tree used its roots to create various things, even producing entire houses with it. Kotoba felt dumbfounded, as he never knew he could do something like that as well, and until now, he has only used his roots to create vegetables. He now gets the idea he could transform them into more things other than vegetables, in which case he should give it a try. He put some strength into his roots, and once the roots surfaced, he tried crafting a whole house with it, and slowly but surely, he managed to build a simple house with his alien imagination. Villagers were amazed by the world tree's powers, building a house in an instant like that, but after a few seconds, the newly built house broke down because it was too weak since Kotoba wasn't used to making them. Era states his ability might be incomplete right now, and it's fine. Since even the previous world tree failed at creating things first, it means Kotoba still has plenty of room for growth, and his imagination might play a crucial role in him building those complex things. He was a little bit sad that his first creation broke down so easily like that, and he wanted to be of help to everyone. He was genuinely sorry at his failure, but Linda assured the world tree it's not his fault. And actually, this house isn't useless at all because they could use the materials from it to rebuild the house themselves. And it will also take way less time than usual thanks to help received from World Tree. Kotoba figures he's right, but he wanted to give it another try. Linda observed the World Tree in action, while being sure they could use World Tree's help to fasten up the process of making houses and get done with them within a few hours. Kotoba summoned more roots to make houses for elves, and after the houses collapsed, the goblins used the materials to quickly rebuild the houses with stronger build, and finished the whole process pretty quickly. At the end, Kotoba also figured out how to use his ability, to the point he hardly needed help from goblins anymore, and he was able to create more complex houses. Eventually, he created a villa-type house by himself, and Linda and others were amazed he created such a nice house which would have taken them even longer than usual ones, almost instantly. Era thanked the World Tree for making houses for them, and now she wanted to take a bath. But when she asked Linda where's the bathroom, Linda asked her back what is a bath actually. His reply left her in shambles, and she erupted like a volcano. How come they don't have any baths in this town? Linda reasoned it should be enough to bathe in the river, but that only made Era think that everyone in this town must be kinda dirty, which made the females a little bit self-conscious. Era requested the World Tree to make a bathhouse for them immediately, and Kotoba knew what a bathhouse was, so he didn't mind listening to her request. He imagined the same way he built the houses before, by summoning materials at first, and Era handled supervising everyone how to create the bath. With elves, the heavy lifting tasks were done pretty smoothly thanks to magic, and the last part was to get hot water, which was also solved by elves with their magic. After several hours passed, the large bathhouse was completed by night, and when villagers entered the bathhouse, they were astonished by the luxurious view of the bath, imagining just how good it would feel to bathe here. Era told them to help themselves and enter the bath to check it out, assuring they would definitely never bath in a river again, not even think of it. After they tried taking a dip in the bath, Linda and Wolfram felt extremely relieved, as if their whole body became non-functional due to extreme relaxation. Kotoba could look down in the baths, where everyone was having fun in the mixed baths, and he wished he could take a bath in the hot spring as well. Just like that, the day came to a peaceful end, with smiles on everyone's faces. Afterwards, the elves called out World Tree and thanked him for helping them out the whole day. She also poured in some hot water in front of his roots to provide some rest to the World Tree. After they watered Kotoba with some hot water, he felt actually relieved and happy to be reborn like this. The next day, Kotoba kind of felt tired, which must have been because he overexerted himself yesterday. But that was all worth it, since the elves were happy, and he did learn a lot about himself as well. He also noticed that he must be using a lot of roots recently, enough that he could feel his height get a little shorter than the previous day. But thinking it must be his imagination, he just brushed it off and thought of using his powers conservatively from now on and get used to them quickly. Later on, the elves brought out their speciality, the elven liquor, and the sweet aroma coming from it made everyone wanting to drink it so bad. They all liked the taste of it as well, although the rumors stated that elves' drinks require a little bit of elves' saliva. But Kotoba figures it doesn't matter since they all are so beautiful, and even slime queens seem to be fond of the elven liquor. It was said to have anti-aging and longevity effects. Kotoba was glad, since the more kinds of liquor they have, the better it'll be, and the more fun everyone will have as well. Now, he was pleased by the increasing number of people in the town, and he recalled their numbers and species, including where they live. Even the humans from Makaro's place have gotten used to living with monsters, while Arachne doesn't come up much in any conversations or matters, mostly because she lives up high on the tree and doesn't interact much with others. And as one of her hobbies, she creates clothes and offers them to the World Tree in her own way, which makes her happy. At this point, she rarely visits the town a few times in a year, mostly in festivals, and speaking of festivals, reminds him that elves pray to him every evening without missing a single day. He wondered why they did that, and he could feel some magic from them flowing into the World Tree. He asked them what they are praying so hard for, since he doesn't think anything will happen even if they keep at it. Era asked him if he's unaware that the growth of the World Tree requires faith. Kotoba didn't really know that, and asks if she's praying for him then, to which she nods and explains the more faith he gets, the more he and his powers will grow. And come to think of it, Kotoba surely has been helped by many creatures since beginning. Everyone contributed a lot to his growth. He feels grateful to everyone. Then the elves mentioned it's about time he should have enough faith to manifest. She requested the world tree to show his true form to them, but Kotoba doesn't have a clue what they're talking about. She explained that with this much faith power, he should be able to create a split body and manifest within it, after which he could also act and walk around freely. Kotoba was extremely shocked by that possibility, and if she was speaking the truth, it would really change his life by a lot for good. Era requested the world tree to give it a try and show them his true form.